the film that Courtney says is one of the top all five films of all time. What is that one?
Bring It On.
Bring It On.
Yep, Missy, great character.
The actress, and I would say activist, Eliza Dushku, joins us right now. Good morning. Hello.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Are you shrooming right now?
Thank you, Courtney.
Are you shrooming at this moment?
No, not at this moment, but preparing to get pretty fired up for election, which is a week away, and hoping people can join me in saying yes on 4 to allow others to have therapeutic access to psilocybin and its healing greatness.
Yeah, so we had a lively discussion about this during the 6 o'clock hour, but question 4 would legalize and regulate some psychedelic drugs here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. You would have to be over 21 to grow and to use them. And I was reading about your experience, and when it came to what is a huge issue in this country now, Curtis, we talk about it a lot on the show, those who are struggling when it comes to mental health. This was very, very helpful for you, Eliza.
Yes, it absolutely was. And, this was about 6 years ago in my case, and I was in a really bad way. And I had tried kind of the conventional methods of, and recommendations from my doctors and therapists and teams from EMDR treatment is one widely known trauma treatment, different pharmaceuticals. I was in deep trauma therapy. And someone actually who had a background in addiction and recovery that I trusted recommended this. And I think that's one misconception people have, is that the psychedelics would not be efficient in addiction and recovery, but so much addiction is trauma informed. And so they're actually very effective for those struggling with substance abuse. And they were transformational for me.
Eliza, wouldn't this also be helpful when it comes to regulating something, using shrooms as an example, whereas right now, if somebody wants to get it, they don't know how much they're consuming or where they're getting it from or where it's coming from. If it's legal and people are going to a shop to get it, you would know how much you're ingesting every time.
Absolutely. I mean, the reality is that this bill is about harm reduction, and it's about bringing these medicines kind of out from being in the shadows. People are already using them. People are aware of how effective they are and the breakthrough capacity that they have in medicine and in improving mental health. And so now it's time for us as a state to say, we're not going to hide these anymore and keep people, as you said, if they're going to take these, we don't want them being afraid to contact their doctor or let their doctor know how they're working with them, or if they were need to seek help from an emergency room. You don't want people afraid to go in because they'll be arrested because they're trying to improve their mental health. It doesn't make sense. And so absolutely this would bring them out of the shadows. And look, there's the therapeutic regulated use piece that we are so behind. And then some people have been caught up on the decriminalization and the personal use piece. But the reality is you can't decriminalize these medicines without allowing people to grow their own personal amount. They cannot sell them. They cannot barter or trade them. That would still be federally illegal. But if you're going to say that they're decriminalized and we're going to start using them therapeutically, where are people going to get their substance if they can't grow their own? And that's what pushes people to the black market. If you don't have that piece where they can procure their own substances, then it actually is much more dangerous. The American Medical Association agrees that psychedelics should be decriminalized as a matter of public health.
Eliza, as somebody who smokes weed and always hears from people who are like, hey, it's a gateway drug, like that's their only excuse to why they didn't want to legalize it initially, but luckily they did. Is that like the same thing that you get when you bring up mushrooms, is that people always go to, it's a gateway drug and it's going to lead you to, booting up heroin?
Yeah, I hear you on that. And that, I remember hearing that often back in the marijuana time as well. And I'd say with this, it's almost even worse in that we're just stuck in so much stigma from the 70s and 80s. People still classify psychedelics and they think they're the hippies and, old stories of people jumping out windows. And that's been debunked. The reality is if this is used in a safe and therapeutic way, it is so safe, and it is so therapeutic and so healing, and they're not addictive. That's another, I don't know as much about marijuana, but some people, I think, find they can be addicted to marijuana. People don't tend to do a mushroom session and then want to do it the next day and the next day. They're really powerful sessions. So there's really no addiction associated with these medicines. And I think it's just about, educating the public that these are molecules that have been used for hundreds, if not thousands of years, for mental health and for healing. And it's time to it's time to educate people, and that's why I'm speaking out. They can be so helpful to us, and the reality is, as someone said at the beginning, we are in a mental health crisis, and it's great that we've identified that as a people, as a nation. But now we need to start doing something. There have been no real treatments in the last 20 to 25 years for people suffering with PTSD, with trauma, with treatment-resistant depression and anxiety. I'm now working as a clinical mental health intern with veterans and military service members. These people deserve more. They put their lives on the line to go out and fight for this country, and coming home shouldn't be the scariest, worst part. The suicide rates of veterans are on the low end, about 20 per day. And that, to me, is it's a disgrace that we wouldn't offer them the option of psychedelic-assisted therapy. This is called the Massachusetts ballot for mental health options. So it's not for everybody, but let's give them the option. We owe them that much, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, now I wanted to ask about getting clarity when you're having a session. Did you ever go back and say, all right, I got clarity, this is a film that I would not have done? Were there any movies that you regret doing?
I don't need mushrooms for that, my friend. Let me tell you.
All right, don't say True Lies, because True Lies is one of the all-time great films, I think.
No, but in all honesty, I will say in my first session that was so powerful and helpful for me that I described in this month's Boston Magazine, there was, once I sort of went through the really deep healing phase of the treatment, I did have a very strong kind of message or understanding from sort of, they talk about, we all have this innate inner intelligence, this inner healer, this kind of higher self inside of us. And we get conditioned in our lives to kind of, believe different things or adapt to what we think society wants from us. And when you take these psychedelic medicines, it's like that kind of dissolves away, and you get many people get a very clear connection and insight. And in that place for me, it was very loud and clear that I was not going to continue doing what I was doing as an actor. While I have, gratitude and respect for all the people I was able to work with, it was very clear to me that my purpose from that point on was going to be to help other people with this treatment, because we all live under a mask. We all live under, we all have our baggage and the trauma and the things that we carry. And this works. And so I knew it would be my mission to bring this to others.
Eliza, very interesting. Thank you for sharing your perspective. And the vote is Tuesday. Seems like the Commonwealth is split right down the middle, so we will see what happens when it comes to question 4.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say it's actually, it's split, but it's also, I think there are many in favor. And the reality is, psilocybin and some other organic natural substances have been decriminalized in 8 different cities in Massachusetts for the last 2 to 3 years, including Cambridge, Somerville, Salem, Northampton. There's been no uptick in people driving around, tripping on magic mushrooms, and no uptick in emergency room visits. The reason I wanted to speak out, frankly, is I think there's a lot of fear mongering going on. And I understand, people, these are serious medications in the same way we would want to wrap them in safety, that we would want to, lock up our Oxycontin, and if we're taking those for medicine or for pain, or lock up other potentially harmful substances. We want to see these wrapped in safety, but we have to bring them out. We can't. If this bill passes, this would go to the legislature for 2 years. There's a 2-year rulemaking process that would be run by a commission of doctors, best in Massachusetts, best in the world, and a rulemaking process. And then they could change the bill. They could take certain substances out. They could change the amount of space that people could have in their homes to grow them in. That came from the Colorado measure. But don't kill the bill. Let's improve it and trust our legislature. Trust, Maura Healey and our Attorney General, that they're going to get this right. Massachusetts has been leading the way for 200 years. We developed so many innovative breakthrough treatments here, and it's time for this to be the next one.
All right, Eliza,
All right.
thank you.
Got my vote.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys, and hopefully we can find each other sometime and talk about, Bring It On and Kevin Smith.
I say when it's legal that we do a little microdosing.
Shroom party.
And then talk about it.
Not the first time Greg said
I
that
like
to a
that.
girl.
Talk about it. Yes. All right, Eliza.
Thank you guys for having me on. I got to run to class. Be well.
All right.